Part of good time management is creating an effective study plan which considers not only your school and study commitments, but also your personal commitments. I'm Dr. Stephanie Jury, Learning Strategist at UBCO's Student Learning Hub, and I'm going to briefly talk about how we can create an effective study plan. I'm going to discuss back planning and making a weekly schedule, and then I will walk you through a quick demo of how to time block. To back plan, you'll need your course syllabus and a calendar which shows the entire term. I like a 4-month paper one that can hang on the wall and be seen at all times, but a digital one will also work just fine. First, you're going to go through each of your course's syllabi and put in all of the due dates. I like to color code each course so I can see which ones have the most work, or when the most demand for each class will occur. Then, you're going to look at your syllabus and try to determine how much work will likely go into each assignment. I know that sometimes at the beginning of term you won't have all the information, but try to give it your best guess. If you're struggling to figure out how much time you might need to do an assignment, like an essay, you can always put your start and end dates into the UBC assignment calculator. It will give you an idea of how much work you'd have to complete in that period of time and whether or not that is feasible. Once you've decided how much time you will spend on each assignment, count backwards from its due date, that number of days, and mark in your calendar the start date. When you reach that day on the calendar during term, you will begin by looking at the assignment and breaking it into smaller pieces, which can be done over the number of days you've given yourself to complete it. The point of back planning is to make your assignments more manageable by breaking them down into smaller pieces which more easily fit into your already busy schedule. Back planning also ensures you do not end up doing your assignments last minute. Now, I know that Canvas will give you a calendar with your deadlines, but I personally wouldn't rely on it. Sometimes it does miss a few deadlines and you end up with an unpleasant surprise. It will also not suggest when you should start each, and so this is why I recommend you make your own. After you've completed your back planning and all of your deadlines are in place and all of your start dates are there, you want to consider making your weekly schedule. The format that the weekly schedule takes is personal. Some people like to use a paper planner, others like to use something digital like a Google Calendar or another calendaring app that they can access from their phone. It doesn't honestly matter which format you choose. What matters is that you include a few certain things. First, you want to enter all the activities you must do at the same time each week. So this includes your lectures, your labs, and tutorials, but it also includes work commitments, club meetings, volunteering, and any sports or other activities that you might regularly do. I also want you to consider time to do things like eating, commuting, and just having some downtime. Next, we need to add in regular times to study using the time blocking method, which I'll go into more in a second. One thing I want you to remember when we're looking for blocks of time that we can study in is that these are movable blocks of time and that they're not meant to be rigid. So if life happens and you need to use some time that you've designated for study, that's okay. What we do is we reassess what we need to do and we look for other time that we can do that study in. Each day, I want you to check in with your weekly schedule and see if you need to start on an assignment. So this is when we're going to go back to that back plan, that 4-month term schedule that we have created. And we're going to see if we need to readjust any block of study time that we have or any sort of extracurricular, non-necessary activity we have so we can fit in time to start that assignment or that project. Now, a tip that I have for you is to treat any asynchronous courses that you might have like they were synchronous. Asynchronous courses can very easily be put on the back burner and left to the last minute to go through lecture materials. So I want you to set aside a time each week to sit down and complete those videos and lecture materials if you have an asynchronous course that you're taking. This is going to help you avoid putting it off, and it will ensure that you are consistent with your study. So I want to show you an example of what a weekly schedule could look like with time blocking used. And I want to start off by pointing out that I've already set up this schedule with a back plan in it. So let's pretend that I'm a student and I'm studying geography, and I've got this assignment that's going to be due for my Geography 434 course. It's a report. And I've already gone back and I've put in my deadline, and my deadline is going to be the 17th of June. Okay. And I've decided that it's going to take me approximately a week to write this report. So what my back plan would look like at the start of term is it would just have my end date, due date, 17th of June, and then I would just have as my start date the 11th of June, 1 week. On the 11th of June, at the beginning of that week, I would have a look at this back plan and I would go, oh, okay, do I have to start anything today? And the answer is yes, it's the 11th of June. I need to start my Geography 434 report. And so I would go in and I would adjust my back plan a bit to break down that assessment into smaller pieces. And you'll notice across the top of my calendar here, I've broken it into smaller pieces. So I'm going to start on the 11th. I'm going to do research on the 12th. I'm going to read some articles, take some notes on the 13th. I'm going to start writing on the 14th, finish writing on the 15th, and then I'm going to do a conclusion on the 16th and proofread and submission on the 17th. That's what breaking down an assessment looks like. And if I was using Google Calendar, like I am in this example, I would put all those pieces along the top so when I'm scrolling through my calendar, I can always see them. I'm always reminded, it's always there. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do if I'm creating my time blocking is, like I said, I'm going to put in all of my courses. So I'm going to populate my calendar here with all of the different courses that I'm taking. And I'm also going to mark one of these as asynchronous, just so you can see how I might pick a regular time every week to do an asynchronous course. The next thing I'm going to put in here are any other commitments that I might have. So let's pretend that I work and I work on a Friday. So I'm going to put that work commitment in as well. And maybe I also have a regular time with my family every week. So I'm going to put that in too. My next step is to consider some regular breaks that I likely should be taking. So that includes lunch and dinner. So I'm going to put those in next. And I forgot that I probably should include my volunteering in here, even though it's only just once a week, and it's something that I don't necessarily have to do, I'm still going to put it in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for any white space that I have, and I'm going to start to block off time to study for each of my courses. Now, each course doesn't have to have exactly the same amount of time devoted for study. Part of what we're doing when we time block for studying is we consider how much work do I have to do for each class every week. Some classes are going to be easier and we're not going to need as much time. Other classes are going to require more time. And so this is kind of your own judgment and your own call. But for courses that seem harder, give yourself more time to study. And courses that seem easier, a little bit less. Now, I've populated things here. I've got all of the times in here. I still have some white space. That's okay. I probably should go in and put in a bit of commute time if I am a student that lives off campus. If you live on campus, obviously you don't really need that. Your commute's about a 5-minute walk to your nearest class. But if it was, Sunday, for example, and I'm looking at the schedule and I'm looking at sort of my study time, and it says that I've got to start this Geography 434 report, and I've got to start it on Sunday. Even though it's a very easy part, this start, it's really only going to take me about 30 minutes to review the question and think about how I'm going to break things down, how am I going to get started on this. I do need to slot that into my Sunday somewhere. And so if I had something back planned that I need to put in there, I would first look to see, do I already have a regular standing study session for Geography 434? And if I do, I will devote part of that time for my report. But if I don't, then I need to take some time from somewhere else to do that. And so I'm going to take a bit of time away from this one particular class right here, and I'm going to study for Geography 434 there. Now, because I've taken some time away from another class, I need to consider, do I need to make that up somewhere else? And if the answer is yes, then I've got to go into my week and I've got to find time to add an extra half an hour of study. But if the answer is no, actually I'm good, then I don't need to. Now, one other thing that I haven't gone in and put into the schedule is some regular time to review my notes after every class. But what I want you to sort of think about here is I can be doing that in the times that I have designated as study times for each of my classes. So you don't have to have, like I said, specific time after every class to do review, but you do need to have specific time, ideally every day, to review those classes or the next day. You want to just get into the habit of doing that spaced study and starting to do some repetition of your course materials. Remember that the key to success is to get help early and often. If you have any questions about today's video, be sure to book an appointment with a learning strategist at access.qreserve.com/UBCO Students Learning Hub or email us at learning.hub@ubc.ca.